Hello and welcome back to episode 7 of the Treacle Timberworks as we are recovering from the last drought that very nearly wiped out our entire population. We got 20 beavers and 10 kits and we need to repopulate. There are so many buildings that have got nothing working for them. The water's flowing well, the food's flowing well, we've got our priorities set up nicely, but there is a lot of production that is just not happening. We are going to struggle for the next 1.9 days of this river flowing to replace all the beavers we need to replace to get the jobs done. It's going to be a bit of a slog, a bit of a wait, but quite hopefully we can get our population back on track and then maybe focus on a bit more research. The next drought is about to kick in. Let's have a look and see if it is as devastatingly long as the last drought. 24 days the last one, and we nearly didn't survive it. So we're hoping for something slightly less than 24. 15 days. Okay, 15-day drought. That's a medium drought. That's not too bad. I think we'll do okay. We'll just have to keep a close eye on the water levels and yeah, wait to see how many of our kits can grow up by the end of the drought. Having a look here at the scarecrow that we placed down last episode and the large water tank here as well, we have no metal blocks and we have no paper coming in. If we look at the import tab, we can have a look at paper, for example, and the warning here is import is blocked by the lack of storage and workplace demand. And if we look at metal blocks, the same story. So there's an easy way to remedy this. Let's build some storage. We're going to put in a small warehouse for the paper, and actually some for books as well when they start being produced. We'll bring them over. And we need a small pile already put in for the metal blocks. So when these are built, the import will commence, and we can actually properly put down this scarecrow and this large water tank. We actually have an interesting problem here. The top reservoir is actually draining before the river at the bottom is draining itself. Because we have these two massive water tanks and we are just sucking so much water out of the river here, we're draining this before we can use it as a reservoir for the rest of the system. So we need to be pretty careful here, because what we might actually do is suck so much of the river up that we can't open these floodgates to allow the river to pour down here. We might have to just cope with what we can draw out of our two lower reservoirs and on the water that is stored in the tank. We haven't lost it, so to speak, but it not being in the river is drying out some of our crops. Interesting problem to have. I've just opened the triple floodgate here to set it to 0 to allow all this extra water to flow in. Was hoping that would... there we go. It pushed back just a little bit of the dryness so that our crops are slightly more watered, but it won't last long because these pumps will just suck all of that water out of there again. As we only have 6 days left to go and we have a large amount of water in reserve, we're just going to use irrigation towers for this short run, assuming we have the beavers to actually do that. Our trees will survive just fine. There's going to be no rush on those. Drought isn't long enough. Okay, we're up to 37 beavers now with 11 kits, so we're getting close. We've got 12 vacancies left in District 1. Once those are filled, then the population will come over here and start filling the 26 vacancies we have in District 2. Breeding back all of these beavers is going to take some time, so let's skip ahead to when they're all back and we can actually get on with some building projects. Good lord, right. I know I said I'd skip forward a bit so I could get some construction done. Wasn't quite expecting to skip forward this far, but, you know, I was on a roll and I wanted to get the project finished. And, my word, she's a big one. So this took about 7 hours to record. It was a lot of waiting around on fast forward, hoping for beavers to come and build. Problem with having the construction beavers on low priority is that every time that they came in, they would all grow up and they would all die together. After that drought that absolutely nearly wiped us out, we had so many beavers being born so close together that we had continuous death waves going forward as those beavers grew up and then died. It's been 8 droughts during that little montage, but I very much hope you enjoyed. They've got easier and easier with the increase of water storage, and the amount of food we've had has just tided this over quite nicely. It's been quite easy to manage, including a 30-day drought, which is the longest we've had so far. And that was pretty manageable with just what we had in terms of resource. We kept deleting this row of blocks here, so just to let more and more water through. The amount of times I've rebuilt these is unbelievable, just to give us access to all of this water, because in vanilla these gates only drop down by 3. That's the biggest gate you can have. The other solution to that problem would be to have segments getting higher and higher with mechanical pumps lifting the water from the lowest point into each segment going forward, like a lock system, which is something maybe we'll build at a future date, but this wasn't designed to be a reservoir. The point of making this dam was actually these gates up top. Now you gotta wonder, why these gates? Why do I want these here? Well, it's so that I can deliver water to the very top of the map. This is the plan going forwards. We are going to construct walls coming out over this way, and we are going to channel the water into a pond here, a nice big lake, so that I can get some crop growth up here. And also I was hoping to grow some underwater crops in this area, so a nice wide area for the shallow water for us. That in turn is going to lead on through a channel we are going to construct with all this dynamite and lead on to district number 3. Welcome to the research labs. The reason I went so far ahead is because of these observatories. They take 4 workers each, but they provide just so much more research. We can absolutely get rid of these little inventors completely and just have dedicated beavers just kicking out research by the ton. Initially, the plan was to grow very gently and just put a 3rd district over here. It was going to cover this area, maybe step down here, maybe not, but cover this plateau, and it was going to be very, very average. But I was looking around and I thought, why would you put an observatory halfway up a hill? That doesn't make any sense. You'd put an observatory on the top of a hill. They're at the top of mountains. And I looked and I went, okay, this area is going to be a bit busy. And if we go over this side, this area is going to take a bit more construction, because we're going to do the same on this side. There's going to be rivers coming through here. This is going to be, yeah, we're going to build up here. But this is very flat. I looked across and I saw these 2 peaks and I thought, you know what would look good on top of those peaks? A couple of observatories. Clear access to the sky, towering above everything. I thought that would just look fantastic. And so I looked at the area and I went, these 2 peaks, how can we incorporate that into a district? The district centre is in the middle of here, which is not going to work really. And I thought, well, why wouldn't it work? We've got a tower, let's go for it. So I've put in some bridges. I've made myself access. This is all coming from the Citadel. They're just walking straight up here to participate. I've had a beaver come and chop all the logs down. Done all this in the background. And plant all of the dynamite ready to go. So, yeah, we're going to have quite a fancy district up in the top here. We're going to have underwater farming. We're going to get into mining the underground ruins. We're going to clear all of these ruins out as well. Have some gardens. And have the water come through and fill up this entire area for us, and that will give us a nice extra waterway coming down into here. How we're going to deal with that is a bit of a mystery. I'm thinking running a channel through to maybe this side, but we'll see how that goes. So yeah, I knew to get the foundations into here I would have to bring in water. To bring in water I would have to make this channel through here. To bring the channel through here to have any chance, I would have to construct the dam to its highest height, which is its final form. This is where I want it to be. So yeah, I just took the time, and it took me, what, 6 cycles to do that? But here it is, in all of its glory, filled to the brim. And good thing too, we've got a 16-day drought, well, it was a 19-day drought, I think, just kicked in, just to make sure that we're not being lazy. We've had a couple of building projects going on in the background while we were constructing our dam. You may notice our tower of food here. While I was building and creating the montage, the water, some of the droughts were 30 days long, and it got to the point where I was going, okay, it's a long drought, let's just let all of the plants die. We will live off food we have in reserve and save all of the water for drinking. And that was working, but we were getting quite low on food in various places. So I have built a huge stockpile of berries, carrots, and, well, trying to fill up the grilled potatoes. This should last us through any drought, and enough time to replant and regrow once the water comes back. So any long drought, we can just survive without water. Keep the tank water for drinking, keep the stock food for eating, and don't worry about the farms at all. We just let them dry out. We can build everything back later. If it's a short drought, of course, keep it all alive, not a problem. But for the 30-day droughts, any longer droughts, yeah, stockpiles of food just work out very nicely. I've also done the same over this side. Made sure we've got enough wheat and bread and sunflowers in here. So yeah, we stock up on wheat. That means actually we can cook a lot of bread, even while the drought's in progress. With a full stockpile of wheat, as long as we got logs and wheat, we can make bread. And with the bread stocks being 1,200, we should last a pretty long time. Up here, we're going to keep some more sunflower seeds. Once they've actually come in, they were very dead after our last drought. So we're going to stock up on sunflower seeds, and on top, just to crown it all, a large tank just for some more water, because it can't hurt to have more. I'm just waiting on a few trees to be removed so that we can actually build across to get our platform up. Hope that's not too untidy. That staircase coming up here gives access underneath and then to all 3 levels. And eventually, around the corner, to what will be a water tank standing on top. It's a lot of weight. I hope these beavers build that well. The other thing we've done here is we've added a little tapper's shack into here. So this little guy, he's collecting pine resin. We've got a full medium warehouse as well as the small warehouse. This is handled exclusively by haulers. So the beaver in the tapper shack only has to go to here and back. He doesn't have to go very far at all. We've removed the cutting order from these trees here because these ones keep drying out. So all of this pine here can be chopped. These pine trees and these ones up here, these are being reserved purely for the resin, which is absolutely full. I think we're going to do okay there. And what I've done is I've also planted a bunch of maple seedlings here. So, and this tank will be full of maple syrup at some point in the future, so we can get to baking some nice pastries. Just waiting for them to grow up after the last drought. It's going to take at least 12 days to mature, and then 3 days to produce some sap for us, which is fine. We should do alright with that. Let's head back over to District 3 and have a look at the build. Future plans. There's going to be some battery storage on these cliff faces, and we'll find some suitable places to put some large windmills so that we can power the whole thing. With the water coming through, we might also add a water mill as well. Some of this will be covered over as a pathway, but we're also going to make sure that this area here is nicely watered on both sides so we can get some trees growing if we need to. We might continue this all the way around actually. I'm thinking to make sure that this stays nice and irrigated all the way around, what we should do is actually lay a path a little something like this. And we'll put a path in around the edge so that our beavers can reach. You know, I think I actually do want the waterfall one out. You might be wondering about the strange paths coming in. The path from one district centre cannot touch the path from a second district centre. That is very true. You have to have a district crossing in between. But if those paths never touch, you can get pretty close from both sides actually. And beavers from the citadel can and will, if we speed this up a bit, leave their path, cross the other district path to come and help build. So what we can absolutely do is have beavers from District 2 and the Citadel both helping to construct the same project, which is quite handy really. So I did some testing while we were building this dam, and it turns out beavers can build down from any height as far as I can tell. What I was doing was adding more water into our system from back here, was using this as a reservoir. And so what I was doing to get more water out of this dam was just deleting this row of blocks coming down here. And as it turns out, I was thinking I was going to have to build a scaffolding ladder system, because beavers can only reach up by so many blocks. They can only build 2 blocks above where they can stand. So I thought I was going to have to build a whole system, but it turns out they can just walk to the top and they can build this block here from the very top. It doesn't matter. So when we come to this construction project here, I'm not too worried about reaching the bottom. As soon as this block is built, we'll just build up from the bottom there. Be fine. So this is really handy. The logs that we're cutting here are being grabbed by the beavers for local construction projects. That'll speed up construction quite a bit and having to go back to the stockpiles. Oh, little mate, what you done? Vico J. Oh, mate, you are just stuck there, aren't you? Oh. Seriously, how did you... Well, there it is. I'll give him that. And... okay, we'll go... let's see if they can build him out of there before he dies. Beavers. Alright, so... what we're going to do is we're going to let the water flow through here, and we are going to test to see where the water comes out. This is set to a height of 1. So hopefully, when that's set to a height of 1, the water will come through, it will come through, and what we're going to do is we're going to watch to see where the water goes. Where do I need walls? Where do I need explosives? Let's just have a test. There we go. We've broken through. Okay. So, spread is pretty apparent. We are going to need at least some walls here, and maybe to explode a channel southward. Okay. So the water's going to come through. It'll come down to here. I think what we'll do is we will get some dynamite. Oh, that looks about right to me. That is gonna flood a lot. Oh dear. Oh wow, literally everything is flooding now. All that water is coming down here. Fantastic. Ah, brilliant. Right, so at least we know this channel is working to a degree. And it looks like this whole area is going to stay nice and lush once we get this pond filled up. Just box after box of explosives. This is gonna be good. I'll be honest, I am a little bit disappointed that this at 2.5 and that at 1.5 doesn't flow evenly. I would have thought that the pressure would have been good enough. It looks like the upward thrust from here doesn't quite carry on over far enough. This is just it's just enough to hold it. If I test it on this side as well, yeah, 1.5 is enough to hold it on that side. That's slightly disappointing. I was hoping that the water would equally disperse throughout the sides, but let's just desynchronize these gates so we can close them one at a time. Okay, close this. Here we go. Just one gate closed. We have enough to push out this side. Is it also flowing out here? Yep, that looks like the river is in fact flowing. That's incredible. You open 3 gates and there's water pressure out both sides. If you open 4 gates, then suddenly no more water pressure. Oh, that's looking fantastic. Explosive time. Yep, that's incredible. 4 gates is enough to relieve the pressure so that it won't hop over the edge when these have a 0.5 gap, as same as here, they have a 0.5 gap. But close one of these gates and suddenly the water then starts flowing over the edges. Just closed the gates off fully there just before the drought started so that we could have this full to the absolute brim, so I got some room for testing before the next one comes. 20 days, okay. Okay, last block, here we go. Fire in the hole! Ah, magic. Look at that. Lovely. Alright, let's give this a test, shall we? What we want is for it to not spill over the edge, but to come out nicely. Oh, that appears to be working just well. Granted, the back pressure isn't huge, but... yeah, perfect. Now, it looks like that is going to make sure this area is perfect for farming. We're going to get some underwater farming in here. We're going to get some overground farming and maybe some trees. This is going to be a smorgasbord of food. This is going to be brilliant. Oh, and we check out this side. Our path going forward is nearly complete on this side as well. Oh, lovely. Oh, fantastic. Look at that. Right, let's get a great view of this, because this is going off. Right, so we are going to get a floodgate in here. We need a floodgate in here, and a floodgate in here. Okay, so this construction is finished. This will work, I think, just fine. So this will keep this area here full. I might just square this off a bit as a pond, or round it off. Alright, so that's going to lead us with a nice oval pond. That's ready for the next one. Right, so, okay. By the time this drought is over, what we want to see is we want to see water flowing through here. We want to see a pond that is fully ready to accept water. We want to see the floodgates put in place so that we can control the flow of water around the outside. And we're going to want to put in a little path so we can finish these floodgates so that we can fill up the centre here with water. I'm going to manage the drought in the background, and we're going to finish off running all of this to prepare all of this pathway to come through. So we've got a nice underground path full of water. That will take water everywhere we need to go, so this whole area should be lush and green. And yeah, join me next time where we are going to blow the top off of a mountain. Ta-ra!